Welcome back to The Explainer. If you've been following along, let's just do a really quick callback to the timeline we covered in part 2. We mapped out exactly how to build your foundation, right? How to grab those core technical skills. But right now, we need to completely flip your mindset. We're moving way past just learning skills in a vacuum. It is time to actively, strategically sell those skills to the industry gatekeepers. You've done the grueling work of learning, now it's time to get hired. We're zeroing in on what it actually takes to land these highly competitive, super lucrative AI roles in the US right now in 2026.
Just think about how this journey breaks down. Those previous months, they were all about completing the skill path. Putting your head down, studying the architecture, writing the code, but present day, this is your pivot to application. Over the next few weeks, your entire strategy has to immediately shift to the exact blueprint for getting hired. You honestly can't act like a student anymore. You got to operate like a professional engineer on the open market. And that transition, it requires a totally different set of muscles. That's exactly what we're building today.
All right, let's jump straight into the first part of this strategy, the offensive play, which is all about building your AI portfolio.
So if you want to go on the offensive, you have to proactively demonstrate your value. And the absolute key to doing that comes down to this specific number, 3 to 5. When recruiters are totally swamped, sifting through hundreds of applications, they are looking for exactly 3 to 5 end-to-end deployed projects. Why that magic number? Well, one project could just be a fluke, right? Or maybe a heavily guided school assignment. 10 projects usually means they're super shallow, unfinished little scripts. But 3 to 5 deep, substantial projects, that proves consistency. It shows you genuinely understand the full development lifecycle, and you're definitely not a one-hit wonder.
Now, we really need to get specific about our terminology here. Let's clearly define what end-to-end actually means in 2026, because this definition is literally the primary filter hiring managers use to weed people out. An end-to-end project is an AI application that is fully deployed to production and actively monitored. It does not just live locally on your laptop. Honestly, if it only runs on your local machine to a recruiter, it just doesn't exist. You have to prove you can build the model, wrap it in an API, host it on a cloud provider, and set up the tracking to manage costs and performance. The real world means live data and real users, and your portfolio absolutely has to reflect that reality.
You've got to create a really stark contrast with the work you're showcasing. We all start out with basic notebooks and tutorial clones, right? But your professional portfolio has to avoid those at all costs. If a hiring manager sees another generic sentiment analysis tool or, a basic chatbot clone that 1,000 other people built by following a YouTube video, they are going to pass on you instantly. Instead, you've got to showcase robust, deployed, monitored projects. Build something that solves a weird, highly specific niche problem. Build something that handles incredibly messy data. Show them you can navigate the friction of real-world software engineering, not just the smooth, paved road of a tutorial.
Okay, but listen closely, because I want you to imagine a scenario for a second. What if your portfolio isn't actually the problem? Imagine you've done everything perfectly. You've got 4 incredible, totally original, fully deployed, monitored AI apps. Your code is pristine, your architecture is brilliant. And yet, you're still facing a wall of rejections. Every single email is just a thanks, but no thanks. It's absolutely maddening, right? Well, when your offensive game is flawless, but you're still losing, it means something else is fundamentally broken in your approach.
And that brings us to the defensive play, navigating 3 critical hiring mistakes.
To play defense, you have to protect your candidacy by dodging the common traps that will completely kill your momentum. So let's map out these 3 massive pitfalls. First up, theory-only learning. Look, it's totally fine to understand the underlying calculus of neural networks, but if you stay buried in the theory, the consequence is a complete lack of practical, real-world application. Companies are paying top dollar for builders, not philosophers. Next trap, framework hopping. The AI landscape drops a shiny new tool literally every single week. If you're constantly bouncing between them, you've failed to specialize deeply enough to actually be useful. You've got to pick a stack and master its depths. And finally, the absolute silent killer, weak communication. You might be a literal coding genius, but failing the behavioral interview and soft skill checks will disqualify you on the spot. Can you explain a complex model hallucination to a non-technical product manager? Can you justify your architectural choices without getting defensive? Because if you neglect your soft skills, your hard skills honestly won't even matter.
So, you know exactly how to build a portfolio as undeniable proof, and you know which defensive traps to dodge. But here is the ultimate question we have to ask. Where is this entire field actually heading? Are you just building skills for today's market, or are you truly prepared for tomorrow's? In Part 4, our final explainer in this series, we're going to map out the future of AI engineering, and I'll share the single most essential move you must make to ensure you don't get left behind. See you there.